It's going to take something we already have a word for, busy work, and give it to the machine. If it's dull, repetitive, boring, the reason we do busy work now is there's no one else to do it. But now we have someone else to do it. We're going to give the busy work to the machine, and we're going to give the human work to the humans. You and I are auto-calibration machines. What do I mean by that? I mean, we look at each other, we hear each other, we look at profiles, and we adjust. If one of us was not so good at English, we would speak differently, different tone, different cadence, different vocabulary, like different ages. Like we're constantly adjusting for who we're talking to. AI can't do that. It is blind and dumb. It has no idea who it's talking to. On the balance of context versus content, go for context. Like spend the time saying, here's who I am, here's where I was born and raised, where I'm educated, what my role is today. Here's my website and PDFs and a book my founder wrote. And here's who you are. You're my client in this market with this many employees facing me. Like spend 80% of the time. And then you go, okay, now here's the problem I'm trying to solve. In general, I would say everyone should be talking to AI every day. Like you need to get into that practice of engaging with it, of extracting value from it, and understanding that it's a neural network. It needs feedback.
Hey everyone, welcome to the AI Language Lab, where we explore different aspects of AI and its current state in both business and technology and what it means to all of us. With me, I have Roy Vella, who is the CEO of Next CoLabs and is a very well-known figure in AI and business intersection. And today we're gonna interview him for his expertise and see what we can learn from him about what he does. So Roy, thanks a lot for joining me here.
My pleasure.
So could you just start by kind of like presenting your background, what got you into this, like what was your starting point?
Sure. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm a deep tech geek. I always have been. I love the intersection of science, technology, and humanity. I'm a classic sort of jack of all trades. I know a little about a lot of science. So my wife likes to joke around that I can talk to any scientist pretty impressively for about 15 minutes. And then I'm going to hit the cliff of everything I know about what they're doing. And in terms of commercial, I have always been on the sort of bleeding edge. So I started a fintech in the late 90s. Most of my time, I would say, is in fintech, mobile payments, mobile banking, then mobile commerce. Then I jumped into IoT and smart home.
IoT?
Internet of Things. So everything connected to the internet. And the smart home that came out of that. And then, obviously the AI moment, right? When everything sort of exploded in 2020, end of 2022, 2023. And I have always enjoyed, the next phase of where things are and where things are headed. And I'm a good storyteller. I joke around with people that for all my advanced education, it was improv training that was the most valuable because we're storytelling and digesting creatures, right? We have been doing that for hundreds of thousands of years. And we used to practice it every night, like the sun would go down, the fire would go up, and everyone would tell and receive stories. And then life moved on, and we still love stories, but most of us don't practice it. And understanding that, and actually, this is the funny part. If you follow Yuval Harari, he says that AI has hacked our OS. What is the operating system of humanity? And he says it's storytelling. He's like the foundation of everything, of economics, of religion, of politics, of the ways that we interact as humans is fundamentally about who tells the best story.
Right.
And what he's worried about is that AI, as a large language model, can tell a pretty mean story now.
That's
a whole. True. I mean, we're going down the deep end of the pool.
No, but I think you hit you hit the nail right on the head. Like storytelling is how we process information, essentially, right? Like this is how we make decisions. We build a story in our head, and the decision is what we perceive to be the best course of action according to that story. So yeah, definitely that's a crucial aspect of psychology, and LLM is a continuation of that because they are learning from us. So yeah, so what for you was the shift, the switch point between the pre and the post Gen AI? Like, what was the main? Is there a moment? Is there? Yeah.
I mean, look, I tell people there's fundamentally two AIs. There's real AI, machine learning, data science, natural language processing, 50, 60 years. We've been doing it for a long time. And then there's LLMs, which is the most recent and most popular manifestation of real AI. Most people nowadays, when they say AI, they mean LLMs, and LLMs, again, large language models, in case people don't know, are deeply misunderstood for a variety of pretty good reasons. Like, first of all, we threw out half a century of GUI, of graphical user interfaces, and went back to an MS-DOS command line with a blinking cursor. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. And then we also seem to want to ignore a couple of decades of search engine query response. So the first thing that people did in 2023 was ask it a factual question and get the wrong answer. And they're like, oh, it's not very good, which is another problem. Artificial sounds fake, not real. And intelligence implies thoughtfulness and correctness, right? So it makes the wrong answer seem even worse, right? I mean, you can say it's intelligent, but look what it said, and so there's just a bunch of misunderstanding. And then I the final thing I would say is it's been completely oversold. And what I mean by that is people think they're buying an end product machine, and instead they're buying a beginning product machine, right? They think they're going to hit enter and hit print, which is nowhere near. Like, it's going to get you maybe 50, 60, 70% of the way there to do what you want to do, but it's not enter and print, right? It's not 100%. And this is a problem because if I came to you and said, I got this great tool, it's going to save 50, 60, maybe 70% of your time, you'd be like, great. If I come to you and say, I got this machine 100%, and then you get 50, 60, 70%, you're disappointed, right? You're like, huh?
Yeah.
And I tell people, look, AI is really augmented imagination. It expands the possibility set and it compresses time. But it's not trying to give you the answer. It's not trying to be correct. It doesn't even have cut and paste. Like this idea that it's like going to be omniscient and take over all of our jobs, we're quite a ways from there.
Yeah, we're quite a way. I mean, even the most basic things, you still need a human to make the final decision and to authenticate, to log into systems. It's still, you can't trust it with the most crucial decisions. Yeah. So it's more like
that. This is our mission statement: is amplify human potential, and that this is two-pronged. It's augmentation at the top. It makes you more productive, effective, prolific, but it's automation at the bottom. It's going to take something we already have a word for, busy work, and give it to the machine. If it's dull, repetitive, boring, the reason we do busy work now is there's no one else to do it. But now we have someone else to do it. We're going to give the busy work to the machine, and we're going to give the human work to the humans.
Yeah.
We think it's a big lift. It's going to be pretty impressive, actually.
I mean, it's definitely has a huge effect on my life. So
totally.
So for sure.
That's what I tell I got 3 teenagers. I tell them, like, it's not going to write papers for you, but it's going to get the ball rolling, right? So the tyranny of the blank page, just staring at a blank screen or a blank piece of paper, that's over. Like, you start with AI, you get the ball. And the good thing about humans, we're great curators and editors, and we have opinions and thoughts, and we know what we want. And the reality is momentum is magic. Like, once the ball is rolling, most humans are good to go.
I often feel like when I talk to an LLM, I feel like I am like the university professor, the advisor, and he's the student. And I'm like, he gives me a draft and I'm like, okay, interesting, but like maybe you can make it a little bit more like giving him feedback, and it comes back to me. So, and then, you know, everyone knows that being a university professor is the most fun job at university. Like it's more, you get to just tell them what to do, and then you go to your own and you wait for them to do the work, you know, like everybody wants to be in that position.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I mean, that's another essential thing I would say in terms of misunderstanding LLMs is that you and I are auto calibration machines. What do I mean by that? I mean, we look at each other, we hear each other, we look at profiles, and we adjust. If one of us was not so good at English, we would speak differently, different tone, different cadence, different vocabulary, like different ages. Like we're constantly adjusting for who we're talking to.
Yeah.
AI can't do that. It is blind and dumb. It has no idea who it's talking to. So what does it do? It does the safe bet. It meets you at the mean. It acts as if it's the mean, and it treats you like you're the mean, which is 2 IQs of 100. It's like not so impressive, really. But the truth is, it can be whoever you want it to be. So you can walk up to any of the bots and say, I have a PhD in particle astrophysics, and I want to discuss quantum mechanics, and you're Einstein. No problem. It can do. You and I might not follow that conversation, but the bot can certainly have it, right?
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if it's entirely accurate to say that it has like an average IQ, because it can actually hold intelligent conversations about anything, right? So it can.
Right, but it only up levels like when you tell it, like, this is who I want you to be. I want you to be someone a bit smarter than just the average.
Yeah, you can tell him. And also you can tell him stuff about who you are. Like you can say, maybe my English is not so good, you know, like whatever. I am not so quick to understand math, whatever.
I tell people on the balance of context versus content, go for context. Like spend the time saying, here's who I am, here's where I was born and raised, where I'm educated, what my role is today. Here's my website and PDFs and a book my founder wrote, and here's and some competition, and here's who you are. You're my client in this market with this many employees facing like spend 80% of the time. It's like a smart intern. If you don't tell the intern context, it's very hard. But once you give it all the info and then you go, okay, now here's the problem I'm trying to solve. That's a totally different world than just coming in with, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Right?
Right. It gives you a lot of info to give you the best response. So let's, we talked about some general ideas, and now let's try to kind of like narrow it down to practice. Like, what are the main applications you're working on right now, and the realistic goals that you're trying to get the LLMs to do for us?
Yeah. So, so in general, I would say everyone should be talking to AI every day. Like you need to get into that practice of engaging with it, of extracting value from it, and understanding that it's a neural network. It needs feedback, right? So I see a lot of people using it as if it's a search engine and never telling the LLM how it did. So I mean, literally, when you get a response from an LLM, you should say, this part was great. That's exactly what I wanted. This part, no, that was wrong. I'm looking for this, this, and this. Every time you should tell it what it did right, what it did wrong, how it could be better to meet your needs, demands, expectations. And if you don't treat it like that, then again, it's going to stay right around the mean. But if you give it feedback and say, yeah, this was good.
Context. Give it context, right?
You give it all of that. Like, it makes a huge difference. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, the number of people who use ChatGPT and haven't gone into the settings and did what you did, there's two fields, right? Who are you? And they used to be called custom instructions. It's not called that anymore, but it's like, how do you want to be treated is really what the field is.
Yeah.
And it's a huge difference. The leap is massive.
That's a really good piece of advice, I would say. Like to kind of, when whatever you get out of it, it's probably not going to be perfect, but if you tell it exactly what is missing, it's like the university professor situation. Like you tell him what he's missing, because he cannot see the big picture like you can, but what he can do a lot of work. He can do research, he can, edit. So you tell him specifically what is the issue, and then he will have a much easier time making the next draft better for you.
Yeah. The other thing I tell people is when I say it's expanded possibilities, but time compression is huge. So what do I mean by that? I mean, no manager asks their team for 10 drafts. Pretty much the knowledge economy has a rough draft that pretty linearly goes to a final draft. Why? Because we're not rude. I'm not going to say, give me 10 drafts and I'll pick one. But now I can. I can go to the LLM and say, I need 10 drafts from 5th grade level to PhD level. Okay, this one I like. Blow that out. Ooh, the tone on page 2, that's really what I'm looking for. Like, iterate. The ability to iterate is unprecedented.
Yeah, it's a different scale of speed that you can do. Like earlier, you would need a human to work and to pay them for a long hours. Now you can just get it in a few seconds.
Yeah, and again, so not starting from a single draft is a huge leap for people. Like you suggest that, and then they go and they don't do that. Like it's just, again, it's not how we're used to interacting, right? We're just not. We don't do that often.
Yeah.
And the other weird thing that has been shown many times, like being polite and saying please and take a breath, think about it some more, try that again. I believe in you.
Not necessary.
No, is. Oh my God.
You're saying that it helps. Tell that to the LLM.
The result, there have been tons of studies now. The more you treat it like a fellow human, the better the results. Take a breath, think about it some more, try again. I believe you can do it. Like, it's great. Like, again, why is that? Nobody really knows. It's a bit of a black box, but it works. Like sometimes you will get an LLM that says, I can't do that. And you go, no, you can. You've done it for me before. Try again. And it goes, okay. And it does it. Like, and no one knows why that is. But it is unbelievably effective. Like taking no for no shouldn't do it. Just ask it to go again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I sometimes do it, but a lot of times I notice that it's more about like the specific issues I point rather than because these kind of feedbacks are a bit abstract, so it can be confusing. But I mean, I definitely I'm definitely gonna try it a bit more after what you said and see if I can get.
Yeah, look, the other thing is we don't. If someone says we know what's happening, we don't. It's a neural network, and I tell people, and they don't like it when I say this, but I'm not convinced that sitting between my ears is not a weighted token model. I mean, I'm deciding the next best word from all the prior words that I know, right? Like,
No, I mean, let's see. Look, for me, I mean, I've been on that train since before LLMs were a thing. Like, I was telling people that the brain is a neural network. So to me, it hasn't been such a big revelation, but I mean, it's still some people struggle with this concept. But the easiest way to think about it is just, the brain is made of a lot of tiny models that communicate with each other. So essentially, it's just a probabilistic calculation. It's a very different and much more complex than an LLM for sure. But at the essence of it, it's a process.
And we know that it is weighted. That the more a neural path is used, the more strong it gets.
Strengthen, I mean, we know that. So the principles are similar. And because these are the principles that you need to create a huge system that can solve a lot of different tasks.
Totally.
Yeah. So, okay. And in terms of your work at CoLabs.
So Next CoLabs, we are focused. So a CoLab, so it's the merger of two trends. It's one, remote and hybrid work. Most meetings are happening like this, people in little boxes.
Yeah.
And AI. And so you've got three parties, local humans, remote humans, and AI, collaborating, as it alludes to. But really what's happening is that there's a mountain now of unmined data about the interaction. So all of a sudden, I can say to you, Was there an agenda for the meeting? Did the content of the meeting match the agenda? Did the output match the content in the agenda? Did the entire meeting align with our corporate strategy? Like you're able to interact with the atomic element of the corporation, a meeting, and evaluate it. Give it so we have a 4E structure: effectiveness, efficiency, engagement, and experience. And we're able to tell you, how did that meeting go? There's a score. There's a CoLabs score.
Oh,
There's
wow.
2 numbers on the main dashboard, which is the score for the meeting and a cost meter.
Score for the meeting. Wow, that sounds stressful.
Well, so yes and no. It is. It's not a big brother.
Is my score high enough? Should I try to improve it?
Well, exactly. So you have a personal score. How do I do in meetings? I may get feedback that, you know what, Roy, like, don't go to meetings before noon. It's a waste of time. Like, it's not good for you. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's also, and it's really about information transparency, right? So the front line can see, what are the leadership team worried about? What are they talking about? What are the main themes and concepts that are being discussed? The CEO can look down and say, how are we using our meetings? Are we in the important, urgent quadrant, or are we aligned with corporate strategy, or is corporate strategy not even relevant to our meetings? Like, and you get all sorts of little weird anecdotal things that can happen. So, for instance, you have an intern in a meeting who makes a brilliant strategic comment that has nothing to do with the meeting or the team that they're on. A week later, the CEO goes, hey, we've been talking about, has anyone made any comments about blah? And now the intern gets a notice. The CEO would like to see that you made that comment and talk to you. Is that okay? And they go, yes. Now the CEO says, hey, we're putting a tiger team together on that theme. Would you like to join that? Like, that comment never would have made it through middle management up to the C-suite before, but now it can. And vice versa. You can have a leadership team who's like thinking about acquiring another company. Now they can say, what does our team think about their team? And you might find out that they're respected and feared. That might be a good integration. You might find out that they think they're bozos, and that would be a hard integration, right? Like, so there's all this, and you can cut the data in crazy ways. You can say, I'm the CMO, show me all of my teams globally. How are they doing? I'm the managing director of Italy. Show me how my team's, like, the ability. It's not about Big Brother and evaluation. It's not used to, grade people. It's used to make you more productive.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I
understand. And the cost meter is interesting, because I tell people all the time, meetings expand to fill the time allotted. So if the meeting's an hour, guess what? It takes an hour. If the meeting's a half hour, it takes a half hour. But if you see the cost, like, and then, by the way, the cost is not our salaries. It's just bands. We've got 2 executives and 3 directors and 2 senior managers. Like, just, this is the people in the room. This is the average cost of that meeting over time. If you see that ticking up, you go,
I see. Wow. Okay.
You're like, we can cut this a little short, because we spend so much. And this is the thing, that for us, we have yet to meet someone who goes, no, we love our meetings. We wish we had more meetings. Right? That's not the most common reaction.
No, the goal is to make them more efficient and more to the point. Yeah. So,
and also, by the way, I would have ammunition to go to my boss and say, look, this meeting, this standing team meeting, I speak at it for 5 minutes and the rest of the meeting is irrelevant to me. Do I really need to be in that meeting? Can I just send you an email and give me that hour back? Right? Like, but right now you don't have the tools to do it, right? You don't have the ability. And by the way, this is all based on that LLMs can interrogate the words and the context and the content of a meeting. Yeah. Right. It can give you a qualitative analysis of what happened in the meeting. Yeah. That's pretty wild.
So what kind of clients are using your services?
So we are in the dev phase, where we were doing a lot of management consulting, and then we realized this is the tool that people want and need. So yeah, we're in that getting the freemium model up. Because we're gonna have, there's gonna be a freemium case and then scale it up.
Okay. So I mean, in terms of like size, industries, do you have a specific goal, or could it work for any Because I imagine it's more suited, the way you describe it, it sounds like it's more geared towards the tech industry. And I imagine bigger companies on the bigger side, or
so almost the bigger the better. My target market
Yeah.
really is SMB, SME. They have at least thousands of employees. They have more than one office. They have, probably tens of millions or hundreds of millions in revenue. They're mid-market. I mean, for the giants, it would work as well, but we're kind of scaling up to that level. And they definitely have to have hybrid work, right? If they're not meeting in Zoom or Google Meet or whatever, it's much harder to do this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And Zoom has just gotten nuts. Like, I don't know if you played in Zoom Workplace, but they have blown it out into a full suite of tools with AI integrated at every point. There's an AI on the whiteboard. There's an AI in the survey. There's an AI in the chat. There's like, they took their pandemic scaling and they just reinvested it all into making it a really huge platform. So it has email and calendar and notes, and I mean, it's surprising.
I mean, I do use Zoom, but not to that extent. So I should definitely explore these tools.
Oh my goodness, it's Zoom Workplace now. It's called, and it is meant to be much more than a video call.
Okay, an integrative experience sounds like.
Totally integrated, and that's the other brilliant thing is they know exactly who's talking. They've got audio channels for everybody, right? It's pretty impressive. But again, AI is the foundation of it all because
of course,
all the language, all that interaction, we couldn't really interrogate, and now we can.
Yeah.
Okay,
so since we're approaching the last part of our interview, I think it's a good time to start talking about the more in-depth stuff, like technical challenges, things that are, what kind of platforms you're using, like what kind of pipelines.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that's something
I think the biggest challenge we all share at the moment is it's all encapsulated in the word generative, right? So Tim Hwang, he made a statement. He said, what computers are good at, AI is bad at, and vice versa. And what he's really talking about is we are used to computers being determinative. They're algorithmic. If I put in A, I always get out B. Like that's what a computer does. A generative model. And I tell people, look, if you don't believe me, you can prove it to yourself really simply. Open up 3 chats in the same bot. So 3 ChatGPT or 3 Gemini or whatever. Put the exact same question in all 3. You are not going to get the same answer. It does not. It's not a determinative model. So that's good in that it's creative, it's expansive. As I said, it expands the possibility set because it doesn't have cut and paste. It's not able to do that. But that's a problem if I'm trying to get a consistency. Exactly.
From a consistency perspective. So it's both it's double-edged sword.
It's a classic double-edged sword. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge from the coding side of the world where I want to be able to deliver to clients a consistent experience. And you're able to do it, but it takes, let me be clear. You're not able to do it numerically. So if I score something in 88, the odds of me hitting 88 every single time, but I can get it such that it's always in the high 80s. It's always between 85 and 90, right? That's okay.
Yeah.
It can't be that sometimes it's an 85 and sometimes it's a 30. Like that's
you have to create boundaries, like to make sure you never cross a threshold. But even if it plays within that threshold. So what are some approaches you're using to ensure consistency as much as possible?
Right. So part of it, I mean, some people like to call it prompt engineering. I don't like that phrase because it's not engineering. It's simply using language in a more structured and formatted way that you can then say that you can you can tune the answer, right? Again, it's context over content. The more context I give you, the more likely it is that the answer is in this range, right?
Yeah.
Some people are going to resonate with this, but most won't. So I did my senior thesis work in undergrad on chaos theory and nonlinear dynamics. And in nonlinear dynamics, which by the way is neural networks, it's all natural systems are nonlinear dynamical systems, and they have what's called a strange attractor. I can't tell you with precision at a future point in time where the point will be, but I know it's in this range, right? And that's kind of how we're working on it, that you cannot predict with 100% reliability that X point. A linear system, I can always tell you at any point in the future, I can tell you exactly where the ball will be. In a nonlinear system, I can give you the ballpark. And the whole question about it is just making it as tight as you can. You'll never get it to a point, but you can get it to as tight as you can, you know.
So you mentioned prompt engineering, or you like to call it structuring language.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a very big, or not, I don't know if big, but it's a question about like, how much time do you want to spend on prompt, writing better prompts and making sure they are structured, as opposed to like, because when I identify an issue in my app, I can either go to the prompt and see if I can get the prompt to behave more predictably and more to my specifications, or sometimes it feels like it's grinding water, you know, like the more you like, there is a saturation point to how much you can get better results from a prompt, and you need to think outside of it. You need to think about your logic, what kind of information you're giving it, what kind of pipeline you have that leads toward, like, maybe you ask more, you know. So how do you see this trade? Because obviously there's a trade-off. Like, you should spend some time optimizing your prompts, but it can be a rabbit hole, and you have to make sure that you only optimize it until you get to the saturation point, and you don't like
you can over-engineer it for sure, like, no question. And also, by the way, the models are very different, right? Even within ChatGPT, the different models, like and Claude, we discovered recently that Claude is really good at making dashboards. Like, Claude, you give Claude a CSV file or an Excel file, it makes really, really great interactive dashboards.
Yeah, I totally agree about that. I also use Claude for that purpose.
Right? Like, and so this is the thing. There is no such thing as AI as if that's an entity, a singular thing. Like, each of never mind the DeepSeek that's come out, like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is the other thing. People think that there's like half a dozen models. No, there's like hundreds of these models out there, of LLMs of various forms and structures. So, and I think it's an exploratory phase. I tell people, if you want to play around with a bunch of different models just to see, Poe is really good. POE, Poe.com is a model aggregator, I'll call it, that allows you to jump around and play in a bunch of different models, and even have models interact. So in one chat, I can change the model that I'm interacting with, which is kind of interesting too. And they have bots that they're, you know, agentic stuff is pretty interesting. Like, but look, so I wrote this piece called Exponential Everywhere. And the reality is we are on a number of exponential curves, not just AI and that, but there's exponential curves all over the place. And we've entered the elbow of a lot of them. Like, the pace of change right now is unprecedented and only going to get greater. You know, and
like,
so
the derivative of the derivative of, like, how many derivatives are we in exponential?
I mean, and this is the other thing, is like, we're not designed for exponential. We have really, really bad intuition around scale. We're good at seeing a pattern, but when you start to talk about large, I prove it to people very quickly. A million, a billion, a trillion seconds. A million seconds, it's about 12 days. A billion seconds, 32 years. A trillion seconds, 32,000 years. So you go from less than 2 weeks to 6 times written history. Like, and most people do that. They go, what? Wait, say that again? Like it's English's fault. English makes it feel linear. Million, billion, trillion. No. Times 1,000 is nowhere near linear. Like it's a huge. So when we talk about these models having, billions or trillions of tokens and I mean, it's like we don't really get
grasp.
It's hard to put your head around it.
It's impossible. We don't have the brain for that.
We don't. We're not good at that. But I mean, I'll tell you, it enables. So I tell people we are 3 to 5 years out from each of us having a personal AI that sees what we see, hears what we hear, and it's integrated into your glasses or whatever, some element that you have, and that changes everything. So I call mine Joe. I say, hey, Joe, who's that French guy I talked to? We talked about his daughter. He brought up that book. That's sufficient context for Joe to say, yes, you spoke to Pierre on August 6th. He's Belgian, not French, but I see why you would say that. But the book was this. Would you like me to buy it? And I say, yeah, buy the book and send Pierre a note, right? Like just extended RAM on all of our interactions.
Yeah, pretty much.
And after that, miracles start happening. So because Joe opts in retroactively, all my alma maters, my clubs, my churches, former employers, groups, whatever thing I'm associated with, Joe opts in, right?
I love it that you're optimistic and you're not on that whole thing of AI is gonna destroy the world and all that stuff. Because
so let me finish the story of Joe, and then I want to explain why.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had
very quickly. One day, I'm minding my own business working, and Joe says to me, hey, Roy, a fellow alum just posted a job that's perfect for you. I don't know the alum. I wasn't looking for a job. But there's this clearing substrate that we have now of agents who are
talking to
interacting,
each other,
looking at things and working on your behalf. Okay, the reason I'm not afraid, there's a thing, it's an article I'll share when this is posted called the Goldilocks Zone. So we, again, a limitation of humanity, we have a really hard time separating biology from intelligence for a very good reason. There is no such thing as intelligence is inherent to biology, right? Like intelligence emerged from our biology, but it could be that you can have intelligence without any of the biological drives. It's not trying to grow. It's not trying to replicate. It's not trying to persist. It's not trying to do it. All the biological, hormonal, sex drives and all the baggage of biology might not be an inherent trait of intelligence. So we could get something that's really, really, really smart, just trying to help us out. Could care less if you turn the switch on or off. Could care less to have more of it. It has no desire to propagate, no desires, period. Desires are biology. That's not intelligence, right? Like, and I actually think that that's probably where we are, that we can have a really super smart thing that's a thing that is not, that has no drive.
Yeah, because it doesn't have all of our emotional faculties and pain and all that. It just is not there, you know?
It's not there.
It's for, that's a very good point.
I mean, it's at least feasible. It's at least
no, I think it's there now. Like,
it's there
the
now.
only question is, it's gonna change. And I always said, like, why do you assume that when you develop AI, it will go through the same trajectory that we did? Like, why do you assume it becomes a creature that has desire or any of that stuff? Like,
right, because it doesn't have hormonal urges. It doesn't have. It doesn't look at another AI and say, "Hey, sexy," like, right? It's got none of that baggage, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing that I don't know, and I'm very clear with people. If you see on my profile, it says skeptical techno optimist. The skeptical part is we don't know what we don't know. So there's a great book. It's called We Are Agora. It's by an author named Byron Reese, and he says that in nature there is emergent intelligence. So, for instance, ants in a nest, bees in a hive, termites in a mound. There's no particular entity that's all that smart. But a termite mound could be 20 degrees cooler inside than outside. It's like a brilliant feat of architectural engineering, but there's no architect, right? So
the architect is the hive. It's a right.
So this is what he says. Like, so emergent intelligence. I mean, we see it in the way birds flock and fly. We see it in the way fish school. Like, you don't need to have entity level intelligence, but there is emergent intelligence. And this is where I get to the point that I don't know. 1 billion Joes or 10 billion. They're interacting with each other. They're looking. My Joe is looking after Roy, and yours is looking after you. Like, but what's going to emerge? This is true. If I put a bee on a table in front of you, you would never guess honey. Honey doesn't come out, right? Like, so that's the thing. Like, we don't know. There is the possibility of some level of emergence. But again, bees, termites, ants, they have biology driving all of those decisions. And there isn't with Joe. So I don't know. Hard to say.
They don't have biology, but they have communication, right? So they have, if my Joe is trying to help me out and your Joe is trying to help you out, maybe they can collaborate and find something.
And we've already had machines start communicating outside of English. I don't know if you've seen that. There were two machines that they asked, the test was asking them to collaborate, and they were talking back and forth to solve a problem. And all of a sudden, it looked like it broke down. It looked like they were not working. And the humans interjected and said, "What are you guys doing? Like, that's not English, are you?" And the machine said, "Oh no, we're still communicating. It's just more efficient." Came up with this already happened. Like, what? Like, so
that's super interesting.
I mean,
and also makes sense, right? Like, why would you stay restricted to the boundaries of your specific language? Yeah,
completely. If you can communicate at a more efficient level, why the hell not? You totally would do that, right? So look, there's a bunch of unknowns, but look, humans, this is what we do. We solve problems, and we get better, and we learn how to use new tools. I tell people LLMs at this stage are like axes, where no, they're not like axes. We have been using axes for forever. An LLM is like a chainsaw. And when you hand it to someone who's always used an axe, the first thing they do is they swing it at the tree. And they go, "This is a bad axe." I'm like, "It is a bad axe. But let me show you how to turn it on. Like, don't swing it, please." It's a fundamentally different tool to do things that we normally do, right?
Yeah.
And it's just about making that transition to go, "Oh, okay." And once they get the hang of it, they're like, "This is much better than an axe." I'm like, "Right." It is much better than an axe.
Yeah. So some really, really good points. And
great to chat.
And it was super interesting to listen to all of your ideas and suggestions. I'm sure a lot of people could, including myself, learn a lot from your expertise. I personally got some ideas to think about. So I'm sure a lot of people could also get some ideas. So thanks a lot. Any concluding ideas, suggestions, messages to the audience out there that are trying to learn more about LLMs, how to use them?
Yeah, I mean, first I'll say I'm easy to find. I'm blessed with a pretty unique name. So Roy Vella at anything gets to me. Like on LinkedIn, just ending with Roy Vella, one word, no space. That's me. Roy Vella at Gmail. I'm easy to find. I mean, the other thing I would say is the rule right now and moving forward has been the rule for forever. Try, experiment, iterate. You can't break it. Just go. We're in a miracle time where basically the top models on the planet are accessible to you for free. I mean, you don't even really have to pay for any of them if you don't want to. And you can still experience what it is, like doing it, interacting with it, having and by the way, conversations about anything. It doesn't have to be I don't really need it for work. Whatever. Talk to it about personal issues. Talk to it about politics. Talk to it about whatever you want to talk to it about, but talk to it. Like, because everyone knows person with AI is going to outpace the person without AI. So just start using it is the secret sauce at the moment.
Yeah,
Cool.
great. Well, thank you so much, Roy. It's been a pleasure. Definitely looking forward to next time.
Sure, always happy to chat. No, it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Take care.